Welcome to the Love Story Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Green, where we are capturing the magic of every love story. Abby is giving us the green light to go. So to catch you up, this is Jesse, your other Jesse. So other Jesse, to catch you up on everything that you missed, this is the Love Story Podcast. And we're just talking about how much y'all love each other as a band.
Aww.
Okay, so let's see. Cover the basics. You're Jesse. I'm Ashley. You guys want to introduce yourself? Maybe start, if we went alphabetical order. Yeah, let's go alphabetical order. And I'll leave that up to you guys to do the deduction.
My name is Kaio. I play guitar in the Failsafe.
My name is Chad, and I am the drummist of the Failsafe.
What's going on? My name is Jesse, and I am the vocalist of the Failsafe.
Okay. I think the backstory that we got is you guys started in 2019 after you defunct another band. So what kind of music do you guys play? What caused the hey, we should start a new band? How did you pick your name? I want to hear all of it.
Okay, well, I'll start it off here. So we were in another band I was in it for years. Chad and Kyle were also in it for an amount of time here. We were a four-piece. The guitar player / co-singer decided she wanted to do something different and go a different direction. And so we essentially ended that band out of respect for her. But the three of us, we still wanted to make music. So we decided, hey, let's do this rock project called the Failsafe. Kyle can kind of give you the story of the name. He's the one that kind of came up with it. But in a sense, we were in more of like a pop, rock, electronica project with a guy singer, a girl singer. It was going so many different directions that we never really got those diehard fans. So this project, we decided, hey, we're going to go in a particular direction. We're going to be unapologetic, heavy, in-your-face radio rock, and just go for it. And since we've done that, the response has been night and day between the two different bands. But that's essentially how we were playing together now, how we're together again. Kaio, you kind of came up with the name here, so why don't you speak on that?
Yeah, I don't know if it just sort of popped in my head one day randomly, and it took us a while to find a new band name. The old band was called the Phoenix Philosophy, and we were just kind of, throwing poop at the wall and seeing what stuck, and that was the one that stuck the longest and that we hated the least. So we went with the Failsafe. Actually, there's a song, a metalcore song by the band Misery Signals called The Failsafe, which I actually didn't know about when I came up with the name, but ever since we've announced ourselves, they're like, "Oh, you guys must be big fans of Misery Signals," and I'm like, I mean, they're cool, I guess, but yeah, wasn't the intention. Yeah.
I was also going to add that the name, whether it was, we really thought hard on, which we sort of did, but it became emblematic of what we were doing. This was our fail-safe project when the other one fell through. We write music to be a fail-safe for people to get through that rough day, get through that rough breakup, get through that one extra rep on your set at the gym. We want to be something that people can lean on, and as we do the same.
And to kind of tie into the core of the podcast, the three of us have always had, in particular, a strong bond. Even when we were in the Phoenix Philosophy, the three of us were kind of like one unit, essentially. And so when the band, decided to call it quits and start a new one, we were instantly there wasn't any thought about well, who should do this, who should do this. It was Jesse, you're singing, Kyle, you're on guitar, and I'm on drums. This is just the way it's going to be because we just know.
Sorry.
Well, Chad, you had mentioned earlier that you've learned a lot from being in a band about relationships and other things. And then Jesse, you mentioned that in the previous band, there was you were going in all kinds of different directions. What's sort of some of the things you guys have learned through that process that has gotten you where you are today?
I mean, for me in particular, it's patience, listening, and learning to put your ego aside and pick your battles. There's certain things that are just, I have to remember that I don't know everything despite what I might think. And there's guys in my band that are smarter than me in different areas. And I trust in them to lead us in the right direction. And because previously with bands I've been in, I've always been the leader of the band. And so it was hard for me to let go of that control. But knowing that these guys have the better interest of both the band and myself in mind, that was a learning curve that I've taken on in terms of okay, I have to trust these guys. I have to know that they're leading me in the right direction. They have everyone's better interest in mind. And so that for me was a pretty big transition.
Yeah, and just to jump on what he's saying here, I view each of us as leaders at different times in the band when it comes to certain tasks, certain things that I put my trust fully in Chad when it comes to anything kind of audio wise, engineering, live production, sound. I just, take a back seat, say, look, I trust you. You know what you're talking about. I accept that he knows more than me. Same with Kyle. If there's particular graphics or marketing or some sort of tool that he's using to help push the band, I let go and just, hey, he's the leader of that. So I honestly, I don't really consider our band having a de facto leader. It just depends on the scenario and who excels at what and who is able to kind of step up in that instance and kind of carry the mantle, so to speak.
So how did you guys end up, like, you guys started in 2019? When did you first meet? Did you guys kind of, were you peripherally aware of each other? Like, kind of like, like you've been kept checking out the hot chick at the bar for how long, and now finally you're going to go ask her out? Like, how did you guys have, like, decide?
Well, actually, me and Chad met. We were the first ones to meet each other. Actually, Chad had a Craigslist ad on Men Seeking Men, and I no, it was an ad for a guitar player in his band. I had just moved to Minneapolis, like at the time, and like I just gotten out of college, didn't know anybody, and I was looking to join a band, and I was like, oh, this sounds cool. Like he might have had like a MP3 demo on the Craigslist ad or something, and it sounded cool, so I reached out, tried out for the band, and joined it. It was called the X Project. Yeah, this was like over 10 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, it was kind of
Yeah.
funny though, because like like after like the second time jamming with Kyle, I was like instantly like, and I told Kyle this like 100 times, if not more, like this guy's going to be a part of every musical project I'm a part of. Like it was just that connection of like, it doesn't matter what we do. I'm bringing Kyle along for the ride because it seems like we get each other musically, and as friendship wise, we get along just fantastic. And so it was just like, dude, this guy's coming along. Fast forward to the Phoenix philosophy when the bass player left, I was instantly like, hey Jesse, I know this guy. You should bring him in here. He's more of a guitar player, but he could play bass. And then me and Kyle also have a side project, like an acoustic side project, and we've worked on a bunch of stuff together, and it's just been a really strong musical bond from the get-go.
So then, Chad, would you say you're kind of the conduit between, like, you brought Kaio into the band, but then you would have also known Jesse from the Phoenix philosophy. So then, Jesse, how did you, like, did you come into the band because of the Phoenix philosophy because of Chad, or did you kind of?
Started that project with a whole different group of people years prior to meeting these guys. And it was one of those things where, we played some local shows, a couple sellout events here and there. It really was kind of stagnant. And then, bringing Chad on board really kind of helped bring our production, bring us to the next level, got us to write our first album as a band, which I never even thought I would ever do. That project, in my opinion, was nothing until this guy joined. And then even more so, Kaio, he was very late in that project, but he was a solid impact. I know, like, I could just depend on him and trust him to do his part. The crazy part was, like, he was the best guitar player in the band, and he was our bassist at the time. So when he started this band as a guitar player, he just really ripped, and he's continues to do so. So it was kind of wild.
Yeah, in the local scene, there's a lot of bouncing around between members. Like it's not uncommon to be like, "Oh, I played with this guy at this point in time, and I was in this band with this person, and I knew this guy from this and this and this." Like it's a smaller community than you would think in terms of people knowing each other and being a part of different bands and different groups, and it's kind of crazy to think about until you find that right combination. And I definitely feel like it took however many years of us playing music collectively to find this right combination.
Yeah, and
I
at
think
this
that's
point, it
like,
just keeps getting harder. The bar keeps getting higher, and we have to endure more and more together. So it just kind of keeps us tight knit, keeps us bonded. We're sharing one hotel between us plus other people as well. Traveling state to state, day after day. We're locked in a small crew cab together the whole time. So it's just a lot of drive time, a lot of being around each other, and it's hard to find people that you can still call a friend after all of that stuff
Yeah,
on chaos or anything like that. We don't hate each
there's
other
no
yet.
such no, there is no such thing as personal space when you're on the road.
Yeah,
The five of us are crammed together in a vehicle. The five of us are crammed together in a hotel room. The five of us are together all the time at the venue, outside of the venue. The only, I mean, when you're pooping, maybe you have some alone time, But outside of that, I mean, you are with your people. And it's just kind of, I think, a testament to us that we've managed to always make it work. You know, we've been on the road for a month before, and I was worried about that. And I was so proud of us that at the end of it, we were all still friends and getting along and joking and having a great time.
So you said the 5 of you. So are there 2 other bandmates, or is it, who are these 2 other people?
We're on the road. We have a bassist, obviously. He's not on this call. His name is Rory. He's actually the guy who introduced me to Chad about a decade ago. So he's a close friend of ours as well. And then my wife, who also is our merch manager, she kind of, is the band mom, so to speak. She has the vitamins laid out every day for me. She does the meal prepping so we can save money, builds us like little these noodle cup things, so we can just go to a gas station and pour hot water in and stir it together and you're good to go. Really is just a impact player in our band, and is, many times we value her opinion almost like another member. So she's so close to us, and she cares about this project as much as we do. So 3 of us love each other, but we also really love the 2 of them as well, especially me.
Well, yeah, you're married to her. I'd hope so.
Yeah.
No, I'll admit, I was super nervous the first time that she went out on the road with us. I was like, oh God, because you hear horror stories sometimes of like how whoever's girlfriend comes along or wife comes along, but now I don't want to tour without band mom. Like, she just keeps us together, just make sure we're healthy and fed, and stays on top of us if we're doing something stupid, which happens a lot. She's like an unofficial official band member at this point in time.
So Jesse, were you and your wife married when you started this band, or did she come into the project afterwards?
No, it's kind of funny. I went through a divorce. I was in a marriage for 5 months. It didn't work out. Had to get out of the situation. Fell in love, ended up hurting them at the same time too. A lot of turmoil. Put an entire album about it, which is our first album. When we met, it was right when I kind of wasn't really looking to date. Didn't really have my eye out. I just kind of was just focused on this project and learning how to, okay, we need a photographer. Well, I'll learn how to do photo shoots and editing. I'll learn how to make a music video since we need that too. But my whole focus was mainly on this. And that's when some of the best people in your life will come when you're not looking for them. And that was her. And she's been kind of along since the inception of the band, but it wasn't like we formed it with her in mind. It was like, hey, I met you, but I just started this project as well. And slowly but surely, she started getting more involved into it. I know at first she was very intimidated to go to shows. She was more of an introvert, didn't like dealing with other girls at shows. There was a lot of mean girl vibes and things like that. So she just opted to stay home. And eventually she really came out of her shell, started running our merch, did her first tour with us, and ever since then, it's really helped her develop as a human, and as become our band merch manager, and like I said, such a valuable asset to our whole organization.
So then for you, Chad and Kaio, to be like, you've got this like wild card Jesse over here that starts like dating some chick, and you guys have to just be like, okay, is this going to be like, was there ever this feeling of like, is this Yoko? Like, is the band about to break up? Like,
No, I never got that vibe from Heather at all, really. It's been, just in Jesse's corner basically from day one. So it's like she wants to see the band succeed just as much as we do. So, I mean, and she gives us good advice too, right? Like, definitely value what she has to say.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that she's necessarily in Jesse's corner. She's in all of our corners. Like, she wants to see the band as a whole succeed, and she's putting in a lot of time and effort and research and stuff to what she's done. So, no, it's nice having someone like that have your back,
So then when you guys first started, like you kind of started this new project and whatever, did you have like, you do your 5-year goals, like, hey fellas, what do we want this band to look like in a couple of years or whatever? Or you kind of said that the previous band had a lot of stuff going on, just didn't really have kind of a direction. Did you know intentionally when you started the Failsafe that you were like, I want to be touring. We all want this to be kind of moving on. We want to be writing our own music. From what I know about the local scene up in St. Cloud, the music scene, it almost feels like people kind of have to start doing, if you want to get booked, you have to do covers. Like, did you guys also have that same experience of like, okay, we're just covering other rock stuff before we can start our own thing? Or how did that kind of go?
No, we've been an original project from day one. And we have like done covers of like in our own style of stuff, but that's not our main focus as a band. And like, I don't know that we've ever like had like a 5-year plan necessarily of like, I think we've sort of had conversations like that, but we're constantly like learning new things about the industry every day. When we started, we literally knew nothing. Everything has just been school of hard knocks ever since. And we've constantly had to like change our game plan, especially when COVID hit in 2020. We had just been playing in sort of the local tri-state area on like weekend runs, and then all of a sudden we can't go outside anymore. We can't play any shows anymore, so we had to totally shift our strategy to social media promotion, and that's still a huge focus. I think it's more important than touring. It's the only real way that you can significantly grow your fan base.
And just to add to that, when we started this project, we did have a goal, but it wasn't 5 years. It was, hey, in 6 months, I want to be back on the stage with you boys again, playing a show. We had deadlines. Hey, we need X amount of songs by this date. Okay, we're going to pick from those songs and decide what's going to go on this demo. From there, we're going to land an agent that's going to get us out of town so we could play the tri-state area at the very least. We had goals to, hey, we'll have this music video done by this day. And so there was a lot of like short-term goals put in place, writing, recording goals. We ended up doing an album within the first year of being a band, which it took the other band almost 10 years to come up with its first album. So things moved pretty fast, but we kind of a lot of mistakes in the previous band that helped us kind of at least measure the near future of that point. But like Kyle said, the game has changed, not just with COVID, but like the game seems to change every year. It seems like there's something different, than we have to chase the next dragon, so to speak. And this is the in thing we need to be part of. Okay, now we have to focus over here. So it's ever changing, as the tools are ever changing too. So we kind of have to work with that and adapt as time goes on.
Great quotes, like evolve or die. And so we're constantly evolving with the way the industry is evolving. Because there's no anyone that says they have it figured out is lying to themselves. It's an ever-changing thing.
So it sounds like that you mentioned the everything's always changing. Do you guys have a sort of a trajectory that where you want to go? Do you have some goals in mind or anything like that? Or are you just kind of going with the flow?
Well, I'd say we definitely have goals. Obviously, we want to be signed to a major record label. That's still possible. And right now we're following a path to do that. We're working with a producer who has done work for labels and has been employed with these labels. So it's going to be easier for him to help us with this project. They trust him as a producer, so it's easier to walk that project in as a full package. So album, the photo shoot, the look, the videos, everything with it is essentially our goal. Slightly tweaking our sound to try to stay ahead of what's current and just kind of focus on the near and the far, so to speak. Aside from that, just landing, I think we just landed a new management that's going to help us get out of town and get on the road easier. That whole process always seems to change with promoters changing hands. A lot of places are going under and starting up. So the landscape is constantly changing nationwide. So if I did a tour a couple of years ago, I want to go hit that town, that venue might not be there anymore. The promoter might be out of town. So it's always reinventing the wheel almost every tour, it feels like. So getting a competent talent agency behind us was a huge benefit to us. And I think we just got that in place now. So that was a goal that we just hit. But really, we're just trying to just get the word out there, expand our social media, try to rise above that 50,000 followers on the IG and 100,000 on Spotify. And that might become less relevant in a year from now, and we'll have to switch our goals. So it's always like hitting a moving target, but we're right now, that's kind of what the target looks like, I guess.
Hey, Love Story listeners, it's Ashley, and I have a very important confession to make. I recently did something extremely dangerous. I bought my fiance's wedding ring online. But before you judge me, I bought it from Modern Gents, and honestly, I feel kind of like a genius. Wedding planning is expensive. Like, why is this napkin $14 expensive? So when I found Modern Gents, which makes gorgeous handcrafted wedding and engagement rings that look luxury but don't cost we need a second mortgage money, I was sold. They use conflict-free stones, have tons of styles, inclusive sizing, free and fast shipping, easy returns, and a lifetime warranty, which is great because if my fiance loses his ring, I would like to replace the ring and not the fiance. The ring looks amazing. Like, Suspiciously amazing for the price. And Modern Gents has over 1 million happy customers. So I'm clearly not the only one making elite financial decisions over here. So if you're engaged, getting engaged, or just emotionally preparing for how expensive weddings are, go check them out. Head to moderngents.com using the link in the show notes below for a special discount and find your perfect ring. So I want to hear about how you guys like all kind of came up in the music scene, like what inspired all of you to want to be a musician. And then from there, I kind of want to talk a little bit too, like expand on kind of the band dynamics and like when you do have disagreements, like how do you guys kind of work through that? Because it can't imagine that it's easy with when you've got multiple people, multiple perspectives, and then how to filter out the like, you know, the he said, she said, and all of that kind of stuff. Even just in a regular two-person relationship, it's difficult. And now you've got all these other extra voices that have different communication styles. So how do you guys kind of deal with that?
So I guess, what do you want first? You want the musical upbringing, or how do we deal with
Let's do musical upbringing.
So for me, at least, out the womb, like, music was a thing for me. Like, my mom tells stories of how I used to pretend her toes were piano keys and I was playing the piano. So like, music for me was like always in my blood. I started piano lessons when I was like 4 or 5, but I was a defiant little turd and didn't practice. But I learned the theory and the core concepts of from piano, so I was able to teach myself guitar, bass, and drums. And I started playing in bands as soon as I could. I think my first band I was in when I was 12, and then I just played in bands since then, and they just gotten better and defuncted and joined another band and then learned a lot, and then it fell apart, and then just kind of a constant evolving until we got to this point. So that's kind of where my background is in terms of music, at least.
Yeah, for me, I came from a family of wannabe aspiring rock stars, I guess. My dad was, blowing fireballs like Gene Simmons, playing in metal bands. My uncle was a death metal drummer up until like a couple of years ago. And my other uncle was also doing a lot of cover stuff, and he actually owns a bar in Wisconsin now and has bands play there all the time. So, like, I was engulfed in the music scene from basically out of the womb, so to speak. I remember some of my first memories are being in my dad's rehearsal space playing Mike Tyson's Punch Out on the Nintendo. So it's been a long time for me, and those influences have always been there. And from there, I sang choir, kind of coming up. I played different instruments, joined a band in high school, and that was where I got my first experience of really being in a band. And I got on 93X. And once college hit, the band broke up, and I wanted to continue my musical journey. So I kind of started on my own and built a project, and then went from there.
Yeah, so I kind of had a similar start to Chad, where I started taking piano lessons when I was 5 years old. I hated it. Like, I had no interest in playing Mary Had a Little Lamb and all that. So, like, I eventually quit when I was like 11, I think. But yeah, so I still learned a lot of like music theory and that kind of stuff from it. I also did choir in school, learned how to sing. But like what really got me into like rock music and guitar was actually Guitar Hero, the video game. So I was like super good at that game, and then I just like maybe I could do this on real guitar, and then I got one and got good at that, and I joined a Christian rock band that was like played at church services at my local church. Then I did a cover band in college. I did like some county fair and state fair talent shows where I would like play like Joe Satriani and Eric Johnson songs, like shredding guitar and that kind of thing. And then I met Chad, and the rest is history.
Yeah,
So
and I
then,
guess circling back to the other question about what we do with disagreements and hard discussions, I think we do a couple things. Number one, we're all friends here, so we always that's the baseline. We always kind of go back to that. Nothing's personal on anybody, and we always kind of focus it. We really try to approach from a business perspective or a conceptual perspective of, hey, this is what we're doing, and this is bigger than us at this point. There's we've been all over the country. There's people who want to hear us, they want to see us, they care about us, and it's beyond us. So we think about our fans and things like that as well. And a lot of it is a lot of internal introspection during disagreements, like, hey, am I being out of line here? Am I thinking too local bandy? Is my ego getting involved? And there's a lot of checking that up and kind of reframing questions, kind of reframing approaches to any kind of discussion, things like that. And there are situations where we've had a member that, for example, who fundamentally disagreed with what we were trying to do creatively with, our vision of, we're going to go to this producer, we're going to do this, and he is no longer with the band. That's fine. So we can kind of, we have the nucleus, at the end of the day, it's kind of a majority vote type situation. There's been things that I've gotten outvoted on, and it turned out to be the best idea ever, and vice versa. So I always try to keep an open mind as much as possible, focusing on what's the best for the provably best for the band and for our fans, and just kind of use that as the level set, in any kind of discussion or anything like that. And I think we all can probably say the same thing there.
Yeah, I think one thing I will concur that Jesse, at least for me, has really helped improve on, and even Kyle to a certain extent, is to really think about the overall picture. Like, I can't think about decisions we're making and what we're making for myself. We have to think about it for the whole picture. And I just remember in particular, the only blow up that I've ever had in this band was me and Jesse was over something stupid about symbols, and my ego was getting in the way about because I wanted to use a certain type of symbols and they were a bit loud. And it was just what Jesse was saying was making sense. And it took me a long time to realize that and to put my ego aside. But it's like, oh, I can see where he's coming from now. He's not picking on me. He's looking at the global picture of what's going to make us better. And I think that's where we all try to come from now in terms of our thought processes for what we're doing. So it just really helped, at least me personally, expand my thought process to more of a global thinking as opposed to more of a self-centered thinking.
I think it's kind of interesting because you have that it's just even listening to you guys talk. I came into this Abby just told me today that we were interviewing a band, and I was like, cool, interviewing a band. But even just the way that you guys talk about it, I have had to dispel the trope in my head of all of the different ways that you think about bands, right? There's the little garage band of punk kids, and you're like, haha, that's cute that you guys are trying to play music. And then there's the bar scene bands and whatever that it's just the Weekend Warrior kind of thing. Okay. And then you have the group of people when you think of this the band trope of we're all out here trying to make it big someday or whatever. And I think the disservice that we do as a society to people who actually play music and want to do that as a living, it almost feels like you have to be discovered somewhere. You're just walking down the street with a guitar on your back and someone comes up and is like, why don't you play me something? And it's this, Pretty Woman style where it's I'm going to pluck you out of the gutter and make something of you guys. And there's a much more intentional path that you guys are taking, and it truly is, when you take a step back and look at it, you're running a business, you're a bunch of business partners that are making this machine work and doing this together. That's really impressive. And I'm sorry that I came into for any of my past thinking of the way that bands operate. You guys are a fully functioning business, and that's an incredible thing to see, that you have to make money moves and make decisions and budget and all of that kind of stuff.
Being in a band is the hardest thing I've ever done in terms of, first off, it's the biggest cross between personal things like your passion and your heart and your love and business, and those don't always go together, but they have to in this instance. And it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to navigate. I mean, my best advice is if someone wants to do this for a living, don't, unless you really can't imagine yourself doing anything else.
Yeah.
Because it is stupid hard.
Yeah.
It's stupid hard.
In your preconception or preconceived notion of how bands are, you're probably representing at least 90% of the bands out there. So you're not off by that. We've had to actively think differently and kind of catch ourselves in those moments. It's like the superhero Blade. He's a vampire. He knows he doesn't want to kill people, but he gets that urge, just has to fight it off and focus on the greater good of things. And we don't have everything figured out. And there's always things you don't know what you don't know. We're always, open to find out new things. We're getting to a decent sized level here and we're trying to go higher. At the same time, we're always learning. I'm still getting vocal lessons. I'm still trying to improve my craft as a showman, as a performer, as a writer. I've been told I suck so many times I don't really have an ego left in that perspective. So I kind of use that as my advantage and just kind of, focus on just kind of keeping things open and try to be as fair as I can and respect people's opinions in the band, but at the same time, what's the best for the band. I think all three of us kind of have that mentality, and that's what's really helping drive it. So it's been kind of a breeze working with these guys for the most part over the last few years.
So then what's kind of on the agenda going forward? Other than, yes, continuing to grow and continuing to hit your marks and whatever, do you have any song style, lyrical style, anything? Like, does your kind of planning come up where it's like, I want to make this song or I want to do this thing, and then you guys all kind of pile on? Or is it like individually you guys all kind of like bring something to the table and try and flesh it out? Is there like a rhyme or reason to how you guys do that?
A good song is a good song, no matter what it's about, as long as it sort of fits the mold of what the failsafe is. Like pretty much the songwriting is a collaborative effort between our producer Dustin Bowles and then the rest of the band. So it's like ideas can come from any one of us, lyrical concepts, there's nothing that's really off the table. I don't think, we just kind of like, if I'm writing lyrics for a song, I'll just like hear the vibe of the song and be like, what does this make me feel? And then I'll try to like come up with a coherent story or concept around that. So that's kind of my process, at least.
The cool thing is that there are no rules, so there's nothing really to break in the sense that like someone could come with a complete song idea, or someone can come with a lyric idea or a riff, or we combine different things. It's that's the, I guess, the fun part is that there are no rules, and so ideas can come from anywhere. Like even the smallest little thing could trigger a whole song, or someone can come with a complete song, and we're just like, yes, let's take that and run with it. Or I don't know. That's the, at least for me, from the creative standpoint, that's the fun and exciting part, is that there are no rules. Inspiration can strike anywhere. It can come from anywhere. Sometimes they hit the mark and sometimes they definitely don't. But that's just part of the process of songwriting. I mean, for every one idea you have that works, you're going to have 30 ideas that sucked. And so it's just part of that process. So,
Yeah, we also like, obviously the three of us have been the driving force. We're the owners of this band, but when we've had a member, even the person that recently left that we had to replace, when he first joined, we said, "Well, what covers do you want to try to do a remake of?" And we actually took his recommendation. We went with it. Said, "Hey, do you have any demos? I'll be happy to try to throw some vocals on there, see if we can make some songs out of that." Or, "Hey, can you help us with this bridge?" Really try to include the other member of the band as much as possible, even early on. And we did a lot of that too, going on, and we still do. Just because they're not an owner of the band doesn't mean we don't value their opinion. So even our new person, we're really kind of help people. We're putting them to work essentially, and we value, just to show, number one, we trust you. Number two, we value you and we need you. So then they really feel a part of what we're doing as well, because they are.
What have you guys found, or where you draw most of your inspiration from, or some of your influences, things like that?
I mean, as far as other bands, like sort of it comes from all over the place in rock and even other genres. Like I think like my personal favorite band is Bring Me the Horizon, and I take a lot of inspiration from them. Also, bands that like just have like kind of a heavy edge but are also accessible, like 3 Days Grace or Bad Omens or Breaking Benjamin. Bands like that always kind of like when I kind of like keep in mind like what would they do, to make a great song, that keeps me on the right track, I think.
Yeah, I'll also add this too. So we did a couple years ago. We went to the studio in Nashville. We worked with Andrew Bayless, who's Jelly Roll's producer. He did Attack Attack and a bunch of other big bands, and we got some really good songs from there. And the initial response was, "Hey, these songs are great." Really looking at them objectively, I'm thinking he could have helped Attack Attack write this song, and it would have been bigger because they're a bigger band. And we kind of noticed that we're sharing the same lane on the highway with bands have been around longer than us, who have more establishment, who have been bigger. We're, at least from my perspective, I'm actively trying to find my own lane and my own piece of real estate sonically that we can get even more diehard fans to grasp onto. So we're not as much competing so directly with these other bands, and kind of have our own space. And so that's been kind of something I've been really working with, or we've been working with our producer on, as he kind of knows what has been played out, what's coming, what the new sound is going to be. And so we're able to try to get ahead of it a little bit and establish our own lane before everybody jumps in that lane, and then we're competing with all these bands that are bigger than us and getting drowned out. So that's one piece of the songwriting process that's changed for us, at least definitely for me. Is I'm really starting to think a little bit outside the box, sound conceptualization, but making sure it's still Things familiar. It still is the Failsafe. It still has our stamp on it. So that's been kind of the new goal, and that's what we're trying to do with the new album.
Before we let you guys go here, where can we find you? Hit all of the, like, of course, hit all the socials and everything. And then are you guys going to be touring anywhere at all, or, you know, anywhere? I guess you could say countrywide, anywhere that we could find you?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. You can wearethefailsafe.com is the link to that's our personal page, but also gives you links to all of our social media, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Instagram, TikTok, X. Everything you want is you can pretty much find right from there. In terms of touring, we are just starting to set that up. Like I mentioned, we just acquired a deal with a new management company and a talent agency that books tours. No, we'll probably be we're going to be in the Midwest in June, for sure in Minnesota in October, if not June. So I know that's happening. We haven't heard back yet if we're starting to get to that point where bands are being selected for festivals that we apply to. So we're waiting to hear back from those, see if we got any festivals as well. So more to follow there. It's just that time of year where people are kind of getting out of the holiday season and kind of getting the summer planned. And so we're kind of along for the ride, so to speak. But yeah, we'll be on the road for sure. We're trying to finish this album this year as well. That's a big piece of us. And yeah, you can go to wearethefailsafe.com and pretty much get a link to each and every place that we are currently posted.
And I'm gonna go on a limb here. So anyone's listening who's not heard of us, I'm gonna dare you to listen just once. Just once. And if you don't like it, the good news is you never have to listen to us again. But I challenge you to listen to us just once and then make your call.
That's what he said.
So before I let you go, I want one like favorite memory of being in the band. Like, what's like the one highlight? If the Failsafe shut down tomorrow, what's the thing that you're like, ooh, this is like my moment that stands out?
Oh yeah, for me it'd be the time we opened for the band Pierce the Veil. That was yeah, I'm stealing it, guys. But it was just a surreal moment. We were playing in front of around 3,000 people at like an outdoor like festival type venue, and yeah, just never been in front of a crowd nearly that big, and it was just an amazing experience.
Well, I'm gonna piggyback. I'm gonna do a two-parter. I'm gonna piggyback off of what Kyle said. From like a professional standpoint, that Pierce the Veil show was insane. Like there was almost like this, like you would think you would be nervous playing in front of that many people, but for me at least, there was like this eerie calm that crept over me and was like this voice was like, "This is what you're supposed to do. You're here." So that was amazing. But on a personal standpoint, I remember one time we were supposed to play this show in Chicago, I think, that got canceled. And so it was me, Kyle, and Jesse at the bar, and we ordered so many Long Islands that the bar refused to serve us anymore. And it was just laughs and good times and just a great hang. And that just hangs out in my memory as just being just a fun friend band brother time.
Yeah, I'll touch on the Pierce the Veil because there's another element that no one knows about. So I live in South Carolina right now. I moved out of the Midwest after COVID, and so I in one day flew in to Minneapolis, drove up to Fargo about 4.5 hours or so, played that show, drove back, flew back home, and I was back the next day before anybody at work even knew I was gone. So that was cool. But it's in terms of memories that's not Pierce the Veil related. I want to just kind of touch base. I always love coming back to Minneapolis. We played a show there, I think it was about a year ago. And it was with bands that I knew and I grew up with, playing shows in different bands with. The show oversold its original room, and so they had to move us to a bigger room. And it was just so cool that we sold out this event, oversold it, and we had all these bands I played with, all my music career in Minnesota. All my friends and family are there to support us. And this was a Thursday night show. I was lucky to get half that on like a Friday or Saturday night when I was living in Minnesota. So people to come out and support us while we're on the road like that in our hometown. It just meant a lot to me. It was great seeing everybody from family to friends to other bands. Just like a perfect winter where it was just kind of snowing, and it was very serendipitous for me, I should say.
Thank you so much for coming on, you guys. I know I'm excited. This sounds like it's music that's right up your alley.
yeah,
So
sure.
yeah, I'm very excited that now he gets something new to jam out to.
I'll listen at least once.
So
Perfect. Like I
Appreciate
said, if we suck, you never have to hear us again. And we just put out a new song called "Happy to Be Here" on Friday. So that's the new video. It's all everything's out.
Sweet.
Check it out.
Cool. Definitely will.
Thanks so much, you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening to the Love Story Podcast. You can subscribe to the show and you can follow us at the Love Story Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Do you think you have a love story for the ages? Do you think you have a love story that's like a meet cute? Or maybe you just have a regular old love story, but you guys have been together for so long that you don't even remember how you met? We would love to have you on the Love Story Podcast to tell your story. Every love story is unique. Every love story is special. And whether you think you've got a cool story, a funny story, or just a heartwarming story, or just a story of the everyday, regular old love, that's the kind of stuff we want to hear. Reach out at info@lovestoryweddingshow.com and we will schedule a time to get you featured on the Love Couch. If you're not local, we have the capabilities of doing it digitally as well. So don't forget to reach out, info@lovestoryweddingshow.com, or head to the show notes.